Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome to Quilting on the Side. We have some planning behind the scenes information for you today because at the time of this recording, we are gearing up to attend H&H Americas. So Tori is going to be the in-person rep for Quilting on the Side at this trade show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the show, Tori, and what you're doing to plan for this event?
Yeah, H&H Americas. I haven't been yet, so I'm really excited about this. I believe it's their third year. It's a big trade show originally from Europe, as I believe, and they brought it over to Chicago so that it was only just a few years ago, and I know that it is a business-to-business trade show. So it's a industry specific for crafters. So I'm anticipating seeing quilters, fabric companies. I've seen listed yarn companies, crochet designers, quilt pattern designers, all kinds of different craft industry specialists and businesses are going to be here at H&H.
And how far ahead, I guess, is a key consideration when people are planning to go to shows and try to get contacts in the industry. You definitely need lead time because you hear about the show. It can be up to a year in advance when the dates are published. So how long have you been planning this and what has gone into that?
I've been planning it since probably around October last year. I really wanted to go 2 years before, but I knew I couldn't because I had a baby at that time and it just wasn't the right time. Now she's older, so it's a lot easier to go to a 3-day trade show than it was a year ago. So I've been planning for the last 7-ish months, mainly trying to make sure I have my ducks in a row because I was pivoting my business and really trying to figure out when I went, what was I bringing with me? So I think you could probably plan up to go out up to the last minute. So if you are not sure if you want to go, just start these planning things that we're about to talk about. And if you end up going, that's amazing. And if you don't, at least you're prepared for the next one. So you have an idea of what it's going to take to get prepared to go to a business-to-business trade show.
So I've heard of these events before. You hear about them months in advance. It takes you a while to get the logistics of hotel and time away from your family and all that kind of thing. And these shows do put out a lot of information ahead of time. So what have you done to lay the groundwork, and what's your schedule going to be like? What goals do you have? Why did you even decide that this would be an important event to attend?
That's a lot of questions. So let me start with your point about the hotels. So I watched for the announcement for the hotels. They said when it was coming, and I watched for that email because I know the hotels book up fast. And my main goal was to get a hotel that was next door, not necessarily in the convention center, but next door that had a restaurant. That was my goal. I need food like first thing in the morning. So I'm like, where's the food? That's where I need to be. So I looked for that email. I got a room with 2 beds so that I could get a roommate. And within about 2 or 3 days of purchasing the hotel room, I got a roommate. So it was perfect timing. I was able to split the hotel great with this roommate. Now, and I met her through the quilt pattern designer group. So I've interacted with her a little bit. So I'm really excited to meet her in person because I've never done that before. But hotel is set, and that's how I did hotel, because usually the hotels sell out really quick. So if you know you're going, I would definitely grab a hotel room. If you miss those hotel rooms, reach out to your network in those Facebook groups that you're part of and see if anybody's looking for a roommate, because it was, it's half the price, right?
Yeah, you definitely need to have a budget um, in mind and conserve your costs where you can. I know VRBOs, getting a rental house may be an option for some people, but I would think that would be for a larger group if you were able to meet up with people. Um, and then you have it's a trade off whether you stay really close and can walk everywhere, or if then you would need a car to get maybe cheaper lodging, but factor in that rental, or if you can drive yourself
Yeah, if I
versus.
was flying, if I were flying in, because I'm driving, I'm
Mhm.
in Detroit area, so I can drive to Chicago pretty easily. So if I were flying in, that's definitely what I would try to do, is get a group together, buy one car, rent one car, split the cost,
Mhm.
I don't know, 4 or 5 ways if I can, and then make that trip.
Yeah, so there are some logistics to plan for. um, and people are pretty savvy and can figure that out, so that's great uh, to know that you were tuned in several months in advance and can work all those details out. But thinking more about business goals, what attracted you to this show and what are you hoping to achieve from attending?
So with my recent pivot to courses and consulting and marketing, with a marketing membership, I am looking for more business to business opportunities. I wanted to go for two reasons. One is for our podcast. So I will be walking the floor one day on Friday. Was it Friday? Friday. I think it was Friday. The last day is Friday. I know we're a few weeks away, and I'm like, is the first the Wednesday? Like, that's what I'm first to the third, but the third, which I believe is Friday, I'll be walking around just for the podcast. I'm going to be, in preparation for this, I've reached out to some of my main networking groups, such as the Craft Industry Alliance and the Quilt Pattern Designers page, and was asking, does anyone want to be on our podcast? So I'll be walking around doing a rapid fire type question and answer with a handful of business industry professionals. So that's really exciting. And then I'll also be looking for sponsors for our podcast. So you may be hearing sponsors very soon. So I'll be reaching out and just asking and letting people know about our podcast, who we're reaching, and looking for that sponsorship. So I'll have a menu prepared. We called it a menu, but it's a list of our sponsorships, which you can see listed on our Facebook page. I'm basically printing it out for a flyer. And then the other reason I want to go is for my own business, where I am very recently going to be releasing a book called
Yay.
Workshops Unleashed, which is going to be helping teachers, so crafting teachers, create their workshops. And so I'm going to be leading with my book. I'm looking for distributors. I'm looking for I'm building a marketing team. So I'm looking for people who would like to read the book and give reviews or share it with their audience. I'm looking for opportunities to teach in other people's communities, to see who has a community, whether craft specific communities that I can come in and help them with their own workshops. I'm also looking for consultations for workshops. So one thing I've developed over the last couple months is a system for working with other quilters who have recorded live workshops, like on Zoom, and are looking to actually create those into digital workshops. So I'm looking for all of those opportunities the first 2 days, and then talking about the podcast as needed throughout those 2 days. And then Friday, it's going to be solely dedicated to the podcast, reaching out, interviewing, and having a lot of fun with the people at H&H.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun event, and I am so sorry. I know I'm going to have a lot of FOMO that week when you're at the show, and I'm hearing all of the contacts you make and seeing some of our digital friends in person. And uh, I wish you all the best with that consultation. I know we have spoken in different roles, with me as the business workshop person and you as the coach. And it was so valuable to talk through my ideas, get your insight. So to our audience, if anyone needs some help and encouragement in crafting a workshop flow, Tori is definitely the person to discuss that with. She's got a lot of great insight. We have said over our years of friendship that you're an introvert, and we even have a t-shirt, introverted but willing to discuss quilts. So how are you gearing up, and what plans have you made for this huge public event with all these people, and how are you going to conserve your energy throughout that event?
Well, first I made sure I could get energy, so booking that hotel with the restaurant was like number one priority for me. But I also, in preparation for that exact thing, I scheduled strategy sessions ahead of time. So I do strategy sessions where I work one-on-one with individuals, and I didn't want it to be spontaneous. I wanted it to be planned ahead. So what I did was set up under Calendly, which made it really easy. Calendly. I set up 4 strategy sessions a day. They're 45 minutes, and we're meeting in person. We can talk whatever they like to talk about in regards to marketing or course design, which I have a mix of both, which I'm really excited about. And I put a limit on it for 4 per day. So there's 3 days, there's 12 altogether. And I think that's my limit. I don't want to push myself past that because I will be talking the rest of the day. I've also been planning downtime. So during that schedule, I have specifically chosen to lay low during my low energy times of days, like between 1 and 3. I'm planning on laying low, probably sitting somewhere quietly, maybe even running back to the hotel room for a few hours just to kind of relax and chill before the nighttime meetups. So we have 2 dinners that I want to go to, one with the Quilt Pattern Designers, one with the Craft Alliance. So I want to make sure I make it to both of those. So I scheduled time to rest. And then I also did not schedule anything before 10 o'clock. So there are a few like panels and things that start really early. So I figured if I have the energy, there's one I'm definitely going to, but the other 2 are maybes. And I'm allowing myself that grace. If I need time alone, then I can take that time in the morning, plan my day, plan those strategy sessions, plan who I'd like to talk to for that day if it's changed, and then go after it between 10 and 1, and then take a break at 1 to 3. Because I know myself. I know that around 1 to 3, I'm going to be dead tired and I need to sit for a while. I've also started walking.
Mm.
So I started walking more because you all know I have a job and I do my business, and I mostly just sit in front of the computer. So it's now warmer finally. So I've been making an effort to walk more and get my body ready to do all that walking at H&H.
Yeah, and definitely take good shoes for standing on those concrete convention center floors. Yeah, those are all great ideas. Know your limits. It's really nice that you are able to attend for 3 full days because it does allow you a little bit of um, time then to recoup. And we've said in our launch episode when we were talking about the different phases of a launch, you also want to give yourself a buffer after that. So hopefully you've got some plans when you get home that you can ease back into real life afterwards.
It's a good point. I haven't really planned it, but I do have the weekend because
Yeah.
it's a trade shows during the week, which does make it a bit tough to go to. You're right. And I've been building up my PTO. I've been trying really hard, and I think I have over the hours I need. So I'm like, yes, this is working. I say that, and now next week my kids will probably be sick or something. But I tried. And but this is really important for me. In order for me to transition out of a full-time job, this is what's needed. So I am putting my best face forward, and I am trying my hardest now so that I can rest later. So there is a weekend following that weekend that I'll probably won't do much of anything. I may be super excited and reach out to a few people to make sure that like that connection stays there. But otherwise, I'm probably going to sleep in, play with my kids all weekend, maybe work in the garden a bit, and that's like it.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a good plan. So, for our audience, we have 5 main tips that we want to share with you about going to trade shows as a business. And we've covered, the first one was planning ahead. The second one was tips on conserving your energy, understanding your habits and your workflow, and trying to incorporate that as much as possible. So number 3, let's dive into the merchandise as marketing efforts that you've made, because I know you're really good at organizing ahead of time and remembering from our time at QuiltCon when you had flyers and QR codes for everything. Tell us a little bit about what you've done to have something to offer to the businesses that you're in contact with.
So for the podcast, I'm bringing a menu for our sponsors, like I mentioned, but I'm also bringing our stickers. So to act more like a business card. If I have time, I am thinking of creating a business card that has a QR code on the back so that they can listen into our podcast, but that kind of depends on timing. But the sticker is going to be really fun. And I know that the menu of sponsorship opportunities will be just like the website, so I can refer them back to the website if needed. And then having a handful be on the podcast live during the show. I hope it comes in clearly, and I'm really excited about that part. And then wearing our t-shirts. So I'll be wearing my t-shirt that says introverted, but ask me, yeah. And the other one that says ask me about my favorite podcast, which Andi is wearing currently. If you're watching the YouTube on this, you'll see Andi's shirt. So I'll be wearing ask me about my favorite podcast, and possibly the introverted one.
Mm-hmm.
So I might just do that the second day and just see what happens. And the third day, definitely wearing ask me about my favorite podcast, walking around with my microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I had this plan and I'm not sure if it's quite worked out yet, but I think I'm going to have my microphone hooked to my phone because it has an adapter. And then I'm going to be recording that way.
Yeah, that'll
I
be
don't have to carry my laptop, but
right.
I have my
Yeah,
microphone.
very cool. Yeah, I think that will attract some attention. And you'll have your notebook that you can take notes in with the podcast logo on the front, and
Okay.
um,
With a handy
yeah,
pocket to keep other people's business
yeah,
cards and stickers in.
yep.
And then for my other business, I'll have my ARC reader copy of my book with the cover art that I think is finalized. I'm self-publishing, so I'm kind of going back and forth between two ideas. So we'll see if it sticks. And I'll also have a flyer with a QR code. So for my individuals that I'll be meeting one-on-one, I want to make sure they have a way to follow up with me if they need more assistance or anything like that. So I'll have a flyer. I have a really fun, and this is actually a gift from my mom. She got it created from I believe it was an Etsy shop. And I don't have it in front of me, but it's a keychain that's plastic and has a QR code on it that links to your website.
How very handy,
Right?
to to get that. I think QR codes are definitely the wave of the digital era here. And
Especially
I've
after
seen
COVID.
those ads online for the dot card, where it's just like you said, it's a kind of like a business card size, but it's your QR code. So you just kind of tap the person's phone and it relays all the information. So um, definitely plan ahead. It does, take a, a few minutes at least to set up those QR codes and make sure that the links all work and go to the information that you want to address. But having logo stuff, print on demand, is a really great service and an easy way to get your business imagery out there in a fun way. So um, lots of stuff to do to plan ahead, and you've done a great job with all of that. You mentioned having your phone, and I think that's probably the way that most people would be taking notes when they are at a uh, event like a trade show, H&H, specifically, that we're planning for. So what are your strategies for taking notes and documenting your adventures?
So I really want to take pictures everywhere I go with everyone I meet. So if you see me, let's take a picture. And H&H specifically has an app, which is really cool. So if you are networking with people around you, it wasn't a setup meeting or in a booth or anything, you can actually pull people up under the networking section and connect with them on the H&H app. But most trade shows that I know of do not have an app like this. So just having a notes area using your note app, like I have an iPhone, so I have a notes app. And I believe Android has something very similar where you can take a picture of the person, you can write down their details and maybe a quick note on what you talked about. So if this was a contact for the podcast, I definitely note this is a contact for the podcast. Or if this was something for workshops, I'd note workshops. If it was for marketing, it's for marketing. So I've got 3 different things going on. So it's quite a bit. Where most people, when they go, they have like one singular goal, one singular business. But that's how I would probably keep track if I didn't have this app, is to take pictures, make sure I've got names down correctly, make sure I know how to get a hold of them later, and just try to build my network that way using something a little less technologically advanced, something more simple. But I definitely do try to get pictures, that because I am so visual. Like I remember people's faces. I can remember people's faces for decades when I can't remember their names, like the next day. Like I'll try so hard and I'm still like, what? And you've heard me maybe on the podcast a few times mess somebody's name up because they don't stick no matter how hard I try. But if I meet you face to face, I'm going to remember your face for like the rest of my life. I may not remember where I saw your face from, but I will remember it.
Yeah.
Like I was a Girl Scout for so long, and there was a military event maybe 5 years ago where an old Girl Scout leader was there for her son. And I had met this Girl Scout leader 20 years ago. And I'm like, I know you. How
That's
do
right.
I know you? And like, I'm just staring at her because I'm like, I know you. And then I remembered her in not necessarily uniform, but she had a themed t-shirt on and she was a Girl Scout leader. So I walked over and I'm like, hey, were you ever a Girl Scout involved with the Girl Scouts and like around this time in this area? And she's like, yeah. I mean, we were in Georgia at that point and I grew up in California.
Wow.
I was a Girl Scout and I was just like, oh my gosh. But I am going to make sure that I can keep names and faces straight as much as possible. So if you do run into me at H&H and ask for a picture, that's why. I want to make sure I remember you and your name and they go together.
Yes. And have some of those key features on your phone handy. Obviously, excuse me, you said pictures, the Notes app. If the event itself has an app, definitely have those handy. But just the fact that you can scan a QR code and get to someone's website immediately is fantastic. So I just had this random thought. Have you looked at internet access? Do you have your cell data plan, hotspot? Those may be additional concerns. I know as a vendor, you definitely want to pay for the
It's a
internet
good
or
idea.
somehow get a hotspot so you can have connectivity while you're at the event.
So I do have that. It's not a requirement for my job, but that's my backup if my internet
Mhm.
fails. So I do have a really good data plan. I have a hotspot on my phone.
Mhm.
However, in the building, it could be a different story. So, I
Right.
mean, that's one reason why I want to go early because I know the building itself will be open during the day on Tuesday. So if possible, I'm going to try to get there on
Mhm.
Tuesday and see what the setup is like. If not, then I am definitely showing up at 8 o'clock on Monday and figuring it all out because I need to make sure I have the internet in order to record our podcasting stuff and
Right.
things like that. So I'm definitely going to be looking into that now because that was
Mhm.
a great idea. And then
Yeah,
planning
this
ahead to get there if
this
I have to.
this modern age, you do have to think ahead, and plan ahead was our first tip, and you can see how it flows through all of these other areas like conserving your energy, planning your merchandise as marketing, and being able to take notes. So that brings us to tip number 5, which is think about the follow-up stage. What have you done to plan out the after events?
Well, one thing I started doing was following a lot of industry specific people as H&H has been sharing who is vending. I can't tell who's going yet, but I am putting out there that I will be there. So hopefully, social media can be a way to follow up, but specifically those pictures and that contact that I'll be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able to follow up with them if they have specific questions, if they have work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have them noted down. And then following up, I want to follow up Monday after the event. So I am planning ahead. I know that if I wait too long, they most likely will forget who I am. It's just human nature. So I do want to make sure that I follow up very soon after the event. However, that weekend after the event, I'll probably be so tired that I need to rest. And then Monday, possibly Tuesday, depending on what I come home to, we'll need to catch up really soon after this event. So if it's a contact, because I know we made a few contacts at QuiltCon way back in 2022, and I just checked with Andi on the date,
Mm-hmm.
and she nodded. And we needed to follow up straight away because we had a few people interested in putting our patterns in their quilt shops, or a few distributors interested in our patterns. So we wanted to make sure to follow up right away. So I want to continue that with H&H and follow up as soon as possible.
And I think it's important to remember, I'm saying this as much for myself as for you and our audience, is that follow up is not a one-time thing. You want to email them, within 3 or 4 days after the event, then maybe a week after that, then maybe a month after that, if you haven't heard back. Obviously, if you've started a conversation and the person has responded, then it's much easier, and that will be a more organic follow-up schedule. But definitely don't be the one and done person that sends the one email. And this is another area where you can plan ahead. You can write some of those email sequences and have them on standby in your service provider, so that you can just drop the email links in, get them started on that sequence, and it will be automatic.
I'm like taking notes on my email sequences, check for the email, a couple things I haven't planned ahead yet. But yeah, that would take a lot less energy if I was able to plan my email template out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is Tori. We met at H&H. It was great to talk to you about. And then I
Mm-hmm.
can put what we talked about. And yeah, make a basic email template that it's easy for me to fill in those personal details. It's a great
Yeah,
idea.
this idea is having a swipe file. So definitely in Google Docs or wherever you write your content, you can start a trade show follow-up email and just draft it there, and then it's easy to copy and paste whatever script you want. So that will definitely be a time saver. So wow, it sounds like you are all set for this big adventure promoting your new book and our podcast at H&H Americas, which happens uh, end of April, early May in 2024. So we will uh, be excited to uh, hear the after action report. But anything else that you have on your mind as you think about this big event?
I am nervous. And I want to be open about that with our audience. This is something that I am over planning because I am nervous. And I over plan when I'm nervous just to help myself feel more prepared.
Mhm.
And if I feel more prepared, I can lean into the excitement because I am excited as well. I'm like that scared,
Mhm.
sighted feeling. So if I feel prepared, I'm going to lean more into that excitement. And I know I'm going to approach people and stumble over my words, but I'm going to do it with a brave face.
Mhm.
And I am going to use that t-shirt, which I think will help a lot to start a few conversations. And I think the only other thing that I would want to add is to not just network with the people who are vending, but network with the people around you. Don't be afraid to turn and talk to people around you. Everybody is there to make connections and to network. They want to know what you do. They want to know how they can support you and how you can support them. So I think working that in organically to your conversations is going to be easy. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I so much FOMO. I will be cheering you on and sending encouraging messages throughout the week. So thank you for taking that on. We mentioned earlier in the show about having some goals, and every discussion we have about goals is always control what you are in control of. So I know you want to market your book. You've got some podcast check-ins, those rapid fire sessions already lined up. But are you comfortable sharing what the actual, do you have a number goal of contacts you want to make, or how are you defining that for this event?
So I want to introduce myself to distributors, and I need to sit down and actually look at how many distributors are there, but I want to look at not just quilting industry specific, but craft industry, because the book that I am writing, or just about done with, so excited to say, but it's, I want it to be a wider craft industry guide. So I want to get to know who is a distributor, who their representatives are, and I also want to, what's the word here? I want to get a few more ARC readers, people who are excited about the idea of the book. An ARC reader is advanced reader copy. So somebody who reads the copy before it's finalized and before it's published and gives like feedback, and invite them to be on my marketing team, where they can, again, share to their audience, or I can come into their community and teach and just share it as a resource, that kind of thing. So I'll be keeping an eye out. I don't have specific numbers in mind because I haven't been able to sit down and actually see how many people that I could potentially work with. It's been a slow process over the last couple of weeks. H&H releases people as staggered. It's I think, part of their marketing, where they're spreading out the excitement. So I've been keeping an eye on who they're putting out there. I've been looking at the app every once in a while, seeing who is signing up and under their networking section. I've been keeping an eye out. So I think as it gets closer, I'll have a more concrete answer for that question. But as of right now, I know I want to reach out to distributors. I want to see who might need some marketing help, where the DMMC can help them. And I want to get us a few sponsors for our podcast, because this is free for you guys, but it's expensive for us. And we really love it and want to keep it going. And the only way to do that is to find a sponsorship, or 2 or 3. And we have packages, tiered packages. So we'll see what comes of that. But I'm really excited. And those are like my 3 goals. And I'm not trying to put too many. I know that I always like to tell people only have 1 goal, or like 3 at the most. So I'm trying to keep it to 3 goals, but I'm like so excited about all the things that I'm doing. So I think I have different goals based on different days. I think that's how I'm setting up my mental capacity.
Sure.
And yeah, so those will get more concrete as we get a little closer.
Yeah, that sounds
we're
like...
still about 2 weeks away, I think, about 2 weeks away
Yeah.
as we're recording this. So I have about 2 weeks to really get those more concrete, but I like where your mind is at.
Yeah, no. As I said, this is a big undertaking, and I am so glad that it's close by for you. And then I will be able to take on the burden in 2025 when QuiltCon is in my backyard here in Phoenix. So if our audience is at H&H, we will have had a great time seeing you in person, since this episode will air after that event takes place. But hope you got some good ideas. We know the summertime in the United States is a big time for attending quilt shows and craft shows and getting out there and doing your hobby. So we always love hearing from our audience. So if you are a trade show veteran or a newbie, we'd love to hear your comments. If this was helpful, what other information or questions that you have, definitely leave a comment on our website or social media. And we always appreciate reviews. So thank you so much for leaving those reviews if you have enjoyed quilting on the side. So good luck in your business. And thank you, Tori, for sharing our podcast in person at the trade show. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.